Well, hello everybody. This is Professor Savini. I know you're probably all busy at this hour because it's Wednesday. No, sorry, it's Tuesday at 5:40. Probably getting some of your papers together, or some of you getting your papers together to submit. But anyway, I want to kind of just say hello for this week. Give you a little bit of a recap. Sorry for the squeaky chair. Um, and I wanted to just point out some things. I really enjoyed reading many of your discussions and your cross conversations. I thought they were very good, very civil, very professional. So unlike what I hear on the television, cable news, or from our politicians. And I'm not going to call out names, I'll just talk about certain topics that came up. Um, Three topics come to my mind that I kind of recall. One was on, kind of dealing with professionalism, your integrity and competence, kind of the focus of this last week's readings and your first paper. I thought that was very well done. One of you, I think it was it, I better not say, forgot the name, mentioned, hey, this has happened to me at work. How would you deal with this? And I put in my 2 cents, and I think at least one or two others also gave their thoughts. How far should an auditor go in providing, let's say, consulting services, if you will, or before we cross the line and assume management's responsibility, which we can't do according to the AICPA Code of Conduct. Nor should the auditor subjugate himself to management. So the auditor has to stand on her own and pretty much understand that there's a line that can't be crossed because that's for management. So that was a great discussion. Another discussion that came up was on the COVID pandemic, the forced mandates, the forced vaccinations, and I was delighted to see people questioning. Two of you were questioning the ethical approach governments around the world took and the balance of trying to protect, if you will, the public versus civil liberties, freedom, and also the notion of not having bodily autonomy to make your own decisions regarding your health. Excellent discussion, excellent, and I think we need more of that because from what I have seen here, and I think all of you, it was a very bizarre time, and I think it's a sad commentary on American society that most of you, maybe even me, were silent when we had neighbors who, for health related reasons, religious reasons, moral objections to the vaccine, were not only ridiculed, made fun of, treated like lepers. Some of them were fired, lost their jobs, lost their homes. And we all seem to forget about that. I think it was a real sad time in this country. And I hope we never go back to it because most people said nothing about it. But now, some of you are going back and saying, wait a minute, let's take another look. Very impressed. A third topic that came up is very sensitive and near to and dear to many people, mainly women, and I guess a lot of men, is the issue of abortion. And two of you had a very intelligent discussion regarding this sensitive issue and how you view it. And I applaud that. I applaud that you have even broached the topic. So the one thing I find common to these discussions is that the people in the thread tended to agree with one another. And that's perfectly fine. You would like to find people that agree with you. But to critically think and to grow, we need to seek out people with alternate opinions and talk to them and learn from them. Now, what I sensed from reading posts. Some of you are entrenched in a position and you don't want to step out of that comfort zone to be challenged. You want to find other people who believe like you. Okay, I get that. This class, though, is to challenge you to say why and to push you to maybe ask someone else who has a different opinion why they think that way. You know, when we think about the issue of abortion, very, very delicate matter that's probably touched many, many people. Does it have to be an all or nothing solution? Does science somehow, now that we know when a child has a beating heart or can feel pain, does that enter into the conversation? Should it? When we talk about the COVID mandates, yes, I understand we should not be forced necessarily to take a vaccine, but do we not have a moral obligation to help protect others from being contaminated or, infected, I should say, with the virus? Professionalism, even there. Are there times that an auditor should not just criticize, if you will, find deficiencies in internal controls? Are there not times when an auditor should possibly provide some recommended solutions to allow management to make the selection? I think with all three of these, there's common ground. But not if you listen to the politicians, not if you listen to Fox News or MSNBC or CNN. They want to polarize us. They take critical thinking away because they do the thinking for you, because they want to vote through you by stirring up your emotion and getting you to think it's a win or lose proposition when really our democratic republic is one of compromise, and it should be. And that's how we maintain our civil society. Which leads me to another point. One of you noted, either this week or last week, about your respect for the social compact. And you made mention that to you the social compact is whatever society feels at a given point in time you support. Well, that's not entirely true. That's more false than true, I think. A social compact doesn't prescribe what the issues are that the government should mandate or legislate. What a social compact does is says, look, we relinquish as individuals our right to set our own rules for the benefit of society, so we ask you, through our elected representatives, to do that for us. But the social compact we have in the United States is not a democracy. That's right, it is not a democracy. Some of you want it to be a democracy, but it's a democratic republic. Why? A democracy, as we've read, is mob rule. Do you want mob rule? Do you want just major metropolitan centers or major cities to vote on behalf of the entire country? I don't think so. That wouldn't be representative, right? You wouldn't take a sample from a trial balance or from journal entries of only a certain limited amount of transactions. You would take a random sample to try to identify the population. Why wouldn't we do that with opinions and other matters? So we have a democratic republic that the House, our bicameral system, the Congress represents the will of the people, right? Maybe it does represent the majority of those big cities or big states because they'd get more representatives. That's the democratic part of the legislative body. The republic part is the Senate. The Senate, which at one time senators were appointed by states until the 17th Amendment, which some people believe was a real disaster. But be that as it may, that's another topic for another day. Senators are supposed to be more judicious, cautious, and they're supposed to protect the rights of the minority. So the majority might want to go one way. The Senate's got to say, whoa, 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 we get it. But what about the minority voice? What about the people that can't get their way? We need to find something for them. We need to protect their rights as well. That's why we have a great system, if it's used properly and not abused, as our politicians and media tend to do for their own selfish gain, right? From what we can tell. So please understand this importance of critical thinking. Even in the legislative form, the founding fathers designed a system of critical thinking. The House being the democratic opinion, you could almost say it's like your gut visceral opinion or instinct, and then the Senate, which is the upper brain, the thinking brain, say, wait, chill, we can't do this for everybody. We got to protect the others too. So you see there's a balance, and that's what's important for you to be a critical thinker. So getting back to these discussion threads, you need to find other people. So for example, those of you discussing COVID, in your next week or whenever, in the future threads, look for those who might differ with your opinion and ask them why and try to learn from them. And I'll be watching for that. Or for those of you, for example, that were engaged in that abortion discussion and you agreed on a certain way forward, if you can't find other people to take an alternate, or who have an alternate view, because some people don't wish to speak about it, and we respect that, to be an intellectual thinker, you both then should say, okay, we might agree with this, but what about the other side? What good arguments they have? Now, don't make fun of those arguments. Think about those arguments. Give it pause in the sense of thinking, because it may actually allow you to grow, and you might even change your mind. So this leads me to, again, address items that will be coming up in this class. By now, I'm hoping you got the idea you should be identifying your ethical framework. What are your core values? What are your principles? I'm going to need to see that in your paper number 2. In paper 2, you're going to be identifying your ethical framework, your core values, and your principles. You should tie into maybe a bit of the integrity, competence, and courage. Because in paper 2, you're going to be assessing your work environment. I want you to really go in and say, okay, I work for Jack. Jack seems to be, a utilitarian. He likes to please everybody, okay? However, the senior auditor on the job is an egoist. All he cares about, or she cares about, is making partner one day and taking shortcuts to make them look good, that we're doing audits, on budget, on time, and they really don't care about quality. I want you to kind of assess the people you work with. And the ethical landscape that you're working in. Some of you are going to be working in really good, companies or firms or governments. Others won't be. Most of you are mature enough to take off the rose-colored glasses and to say, wait a minute, there's some things here that probably need to change. Or there's some people here that, are not honest and ethical as they pretend to be. Because most people pretend to be honest and ethical, and they're not. So this kind of ties all into paper 2, okay? Your ethical framework. And because that then will lead us to paper 3, which is another video, but just get ready for, the paper 2. I am, as I said, going to be giving pop quizzes, so you're going to be getting one today. Some of you will be losing points or have lost points through these first 4 discussion threads. So hang in there. I'm going to be giving you a pop quiz in a few minutes. The groupthink, again, I addressed that. I want you to get away from always talking with people that agree with you in the threads. Seek out others or explore alternate opinions so I can see them and read them myself. Okay? We've covered that. We've discussed social compact. So the last thing I want to cover is, who are you? I read a few of your threads where some of you said, I was raised religious, I was raised Catholic, I was raised Christian, but, and then you go on. So I say to you, why does that matter? Some of you say, oh, I am a Christian. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? For those of you who have had religious education, I applaud that, no matter what form it may have taken. Most of what I understand from the Judeo-Christian point of view and even the Islamic point of view, they share many similarities. I was even impressed where I read a Buddhist text from the Falun Dafa, and there are similar concepts to what I've learned in my own faith about the divine, the supernatural, the afterlife. A lot of common themes. But I ask you, in your threads, you say, okay, I was raised this way, but I think in this manner, kind of contrary to the faith. What does that mean? Do you have cognizant dissonance going on? Have you rejected your faith? Is your faith not really fully developed? Or are you picking and choosing? For example, you have 10 commandments. Do you believe in all 10? Or do you pick and choose and say, no, I think, you know what, this one I like. I'm going to do this one. Or I'm inclined to, feel that people who commit this one should get a pass, but the other ones no. This cafeteria style, this buffet style of ethics concerns all of us, actually. So again, strip away how you were raised in a religious sense, although it's critical and important. Dig deep down and identify the principles and values you have. So for those of you who are contrary to abortion, why? What are the values? For those of you that are pro-abortion, why? What are the values? What are the ethics, the principles behind that you stand on? Regarding the COVID mandates as well, why do you feel the way you do regarding whether you were pro or con what world governments did? So I think when you get beyond the superficial, I was raised this way, or I came from a broken family, I understand that affected us all, affected me for sure. But who are you? And why are you this way? And when you say you are something, like if you're a Giants fan, you can't be too happy right now, right? So maybe you should not be a Giants fan or say you're a Giants fan if you don't follow the team on a weekly basis, don't read the op-eds, don't look at the stats, then maybe you're not a Giants fan. Maybe you just like the Giants, but you're really not a Giants fan. You kind of get my point, folks? So why give yourself a label if it's not undergirded by the principles and values and by your actions that would demonstrate? Okay? All right. Here's your pop quiz. Okay? I'm going to transport you all back to 1938 Nazi Germany. We're in Nazi Germany. And many of your neighbors are Jewish. Some are gay. You live on very close to the, let's say, Polish border. So there's some Polish Catholic priests. And there's some invalids. Poor children, maybe born with a deformity or two. And the Nazi regime has begun rounding members of these groups up and taking them to work camps or concentration camps that you know. They're being brutally treated, mistreated, possibly raped, experimented on, ultimately killed in the most heinous way. I want you to answer the question, and you could just send me an email as to how you would answer with a very brief, I don't need 2 paragraphs, please, simple explanation of why. Would you speak up for these people? And if so, how? Would you fight against the system? And secondly, would you remain silent? But let me suggest this, a little twist in the scenario. You've been mistreated by one of these groups. So for example, Laura, I pick her out as, or Matt, maybe you were mistreated by the Polish Catholics or the Polish priest. Jeff, is it Jeff or Jake? Maybe you were mistreated by someone who was Jewish. Okay? So you have some skin in the game. You understand some hurt here, or you have hurt. And you very well may be sympathetic to what Hitler's trying to do, right? He's trying to get rid of the problems. That's all. He's trying to get a clean, clear society. So that's your pop quiz. You don't have to do it. It's voluntary. Tell me. I'll tally it up and then we'll talk about it a little bit, because every time I offer this, and I don't always offer it, there are other quizzes I give too, pop quizzes. This is an interesting one. Okay? So I hope you have a really good week. We're into the fall, just about. Well, no, we are officially into fall, so winter's coming. So stay warm, stay dry, and I hope you're not in the area of North Carolina or part of the southeast that were devastated by the Hurricane Helene. So if you were and you're impeded somehow, let me know. Try to get word to me. Okay? Stay well. Have a good day.